Okay, this video is about chapter 5, section 4. This is all about mixed numbers. So we're going to deal with adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing mixed numbers with fractions. All right, so let's start with, I think this is the harder thing to do is adding and subtracting them. So we're going to start with that. And the way that I like to teach this, may be different from someone else, and their preferred method. But this is my way. I think I tend to favor this just because it eliminates any kind of regrouping, which I think is somewhat challenging with mixed numbers when you have to borrow. When I talk about regrouping, I'm talking about borrowing and or carrying. If you have to carry numbers over. Um, and if we change them into improper, which I haven't even talked about yet, but this is what we're going to do. If you change them into a proper, that eliminates the need to have to do any type of regrouping, um, where you have to break down the number or something or carry over something. So yeah, let's just jump into it. So like right here. So the first step when you're dealing with adding and subtracting mixed numbers, and usually when I teach this, people kind of prefer it too. They tell me that it's a good way to do it. So is it everyone's favorite? Probably not, but I get a lot of favorable responses to this method. So let's jump into it. The first thing you want to do is change them into improper. Okay, so remember multiply 6 times 8 and then add 5. So 48 plus 5 is 53. All right, so we get 53, and you leave the denominator from before the way it is, right? You keep the old denominator. All right, and the other one's going to be what? 5 times 4 plus 3, that's 23 fourths. Okay, so now we have two fractions. We have unlike denominators. So now what we have to do is we have to get them to have the same denominator. So we need an LCD. Now the LCD of 6 and 4 is 12. I mean, you could use 24, but 24 is not the lowest common denominator. It's just a common multiple, or a common denominator. Okay, so now let's go through this. So 6 times 12, or 6 now times 2 is 12, right? So you're going to do 53 times 2. 53 times 2 is 106. So I'm going to put 106 there. All right, and we're going to figure out, okay, 4 times 3. 4 times 3 is 12, so we're going to do 23 times 3, which is 69. All right, so now we can go through and add them up. So 106 plus 69 is what, 175? What it is. So you got 175 over 12. Now, since this started out as a mixed number problem, it's probably a good idea to change them back into mixed numbers for your solution. Okay, I wouldn't just leave it improper. Although a lot of times in math, especially algebra, it's okay to leave fractions improper. Uh, it is not okay though to not leave it simplified. So you do want to put it in lowest terms as much as you can. Anyhow, um, let's do that. So let's change 170. So let's do top divided by bottom. So we're going to do 175 divided by 12. Okay. So how many 12s go into 17? I'll put a 1 there in the quotient. And I'm just doing long division here at this point. So 17 minus 12 is 5. Drop down the 5 in the dividend, and now repeat. So 12 divides into 55 4 times. 5 would be 60, which is too big. So 4 is good because 4 times 12 is 48. Subtract, and you get 7. And so remember, your remainder becomes your numerator. You want to put your remainder up there. Okay, that's where it goes. And whatever the denominator was before, which was 12, that stays the denominator, right? So that's it. 14 and 7 12. See, that was pretty easy, wasn't it? Wasn't too bad. All right, next one right here. Let's go ahead and look at subtraction. So I'm going to do this the same way. We're just going to change them into improper fractions. Okay, so 3 1/8 is 25/8. 7 times 16. What's that? That's going to be 16 times 7 is what, 42? So that's going to be 112 plus 9 is 121 over 16. Okay, now the LCD and this one, oh, and by the way, there's a mistake on this, I just noticed. Typo, there's a plus sign there. Oh, you know what? I think I know why there's a plus sign there. And the reason there's a plus sign is there is so that we can just make this negative. So we're just going to imagine that as negative 121. All right, now the LCD of these is 16. They both have 16 as a common multiple. Is it the least common multiple or the least common denominator since they're fractions? All right, now let's compare and look at how we get the denominators. So multiply by 2, right? So multiply by 2. So you're going to do 25 times 2. 25 times 2 is 50. All right, now 16 right here. 16 does not change. So that means we're multiplying by 1. So doing negative 121 times 1, which is negative 121. Negative 121. So we're going to have to subtract these. So 50 plus negative 121. So we're going to do 121 minus 50, right? Which is what, 71? What that is? So it's going to be negative 71. I'm going to get negative 71 over 16. All right, so let's change that back into a mixed number. So I'm going to do 71. I know it's negative, but I'm going to do 71 divided by 16. All right, put the negative up in the quotient because you know it's going to be negative. 16 divides into 71 4 times. Because 4 times 16 is 64. 16 times 5 is 80. That's too big. All right, subtract and you get 5. So there it is. Negative 4 and 5/16. All right, so when multiplying or dividing, let's do this right now. We're going to do when multiplying or dividing mixed numbers, first convert. Now this is something you have to do. Like on the previous page, like it's kind of like something like you don't necessarily have to change them into improper. I think the advice that I was getting was that it makes it easier. It kind of takes out some steps that are somewhat challenging, like regrouping. However, when you're multiplying and dividing mixed numbers, you've got to change them. You got to change them into improper before you ever multiply or divide them. So when multiplying or dividing mixed numbers, first convert the mixed numbers into improper fractions. Okay, so convert. Let's just get right. We don't need to write these notes. So 13 1/3. I know it's negative, but it's 13 1/3. With 3 times 13 is 39 plus 1 is 40. So I'm going to do negative 40. So you got negative 40 over 3. All right, now this is just 5 over 1, so that's what I'm going to write here. 5 over 1. Now we don't flip anything when it's just straightforward multiplication. So just multiply left to right. Okay, so that is what we're going to do. Multiply left to right. And negative 40 times 5. Negative 40 times 5 is negative 200. And then 3 times 1 is 3. And let's change this back into a mixed number. So we're doing top divided by bottom, so 200 divided by 3. So this is going to be negative. Now, how many 3's make 20? All right, how many 3's make 20? Well, 6 do. So 6 times 3 is 18. Subtract, and you get 2. Bring down to 0. So 3 goes into 20. 3 divides into 20 6 times again. So you got 66. You get 18 again. You get 2. All right, so 66, negative 66 and 2/3. Okay, and this next one right here. All right. So we're going to convert into improper fractions. And then we're going to find the reciprocal of the second fraction. Okay, so let's do that. So, and then it says also change division into multiplication. All right, so negative 12 and 4/5 is going to be negative 64 fifths. All right, and we could just write negative 8 over 1, right? Negative 8 over 1, like that. All right, now keep the first fraction the way it is. Don't change it, don't flip it. Change division into multiplication, and then flip the second fraction. So I'm going to write negative 1 over 8. You remember what I said? I'd like to keep the, if I can, keep the minus sign up in the numerator. All right, so this is a negative times a negative, so it's going to be positive. So we know that for sure. So this is going to be 64. That's what we're doing first. We're doing 64 times 1, which is 64, and a negative times a negative is a positive. And then 5 times 8 is 40. And then we could simplify this, or we could change to a mixed number too, and then simplify it. I'm going to just simplify it first. Why not? We can divide by 8. I probably should have cross-canceled, but I didn't. All right, so divide by 8, and you get 8 fifths. All right, and then 8 fifths is really 1 3/5 when you change it into improper. All right here, this is an example that you can, I don't know, you could probably try these last 3 on your own. I'll just go through these. You could probably pause the video at this point. Try these out, see how you do. Check back and see how you worked them out. And if you need help, watch the video again. All right, so what do we got here? So I'm going to change these into improper. So 4 and 1/4 is 17/4. Right, 2 1/2 is really 5/2, so I'm going to write negative 5 over 2. Now I didn't flip anything. All I did was convert them into improper, right? Leave the first fraction the way it is, change division into multiplication, and then flip the second fraction. So I'm going to write negative 2/5. Keep, change, flip, right? Keep, change, flip. All right, so at this point we could probably cross cancel these. This becomes negative 1 and 2. And so what do we get? We get negative 17 over 10. And changing that into mixed number, you get negative 1 7/10. Negative 1 7/10. Okay, right here, we've got 3 3/4, which is 15/4. 1 4/5, which is 9/5. Do not flip anything because this is multiplication. All right, so if we cross cancel, which we can, these divide by 5. So that turns into 1, and this turns into a 3. All right, 4 and 9 do not cross cancel. And do not cross cancel this way. Do not cross cancel that way. Just multiply that way. Okay? Multiply in this direction, not cross canceling. All right, so what do we get? We get 27 over 4. 3 times 9, 4 times 1. And then change that into a mixed number. You get 6 3/4. For this one, let's change the first fraction into negative 21/4. And I can go ahead and flip this, change that to multiplication, flip this fraction. And nothing cross cancels. Okay, those don't have any common factors. Those don't have any common factors. So just multiply left to right at this point. We get negative, 105 over 16. Okay, negative 105 over 16, and then change that into a mixed number. All right, so it's be negative. So 16 times, I know 16 times 6 is 96, right? Yeah, I got 96, and then that leaves 9 left over. So negative 6 and 9/16.